Hi everyone, I am Ms. Lolife Capote Hervasio from Ozama City. Today I'm going to be sharing to you about the education system of Japan. Japan, as one of the world's most literate and technically advanced nations, is an East Asian archipelago country made up of four primary islands and more than 6,800 others. While most of Japan is covered by mountains and heavily wooded areas, the country's people lead a distinctly urban lifestyle. Long culturally influenced by its neighbors, today the country blends its ancient traditions with aspects of Western life. What comes first into your mind when you would say education system of Japan? Have you come up with some questions on how they achieve their title of being one of the OECD countries? So here are the three things to consider in exploring Japan's educational system. The first is the curriculum outline, the second is schools in Japan, and the third is special features of Japanese education. First, let's discuss the curriculum outline. The Japanese school system primarily consists of the 6-year elementary schools, 3-year junior high schools, 3-year high schools, and 2 or 3-year junior colleges or 4-year colleges. Compulsory education lasts for 9 years in Japan for elementary and junior high school. School exchange during Japan educational travel are mainly implemented in junior high and high school. They have this what do we call school exchanges that happens during Japan educational travel. What else can we find in Japan? They have special needs education. This is made for physically or mentally challenged students to support special needs to develop their self-reliance, thus enhance their social participation. Here is the school education chart. The child can start her education, the primary education, when he or she is 6 years old already. And this would last for 6 years. And then at the age of 12, he will proceed or she will proceed to junior high school, which would last for 3 years. When she's 12 years old, she can now proceed to secondary education. And for secondary education, we have this what we call junior high school and high school. So now, for junior high school, she can finish that one or he can finish it for 3 years and another 3 years for high school. At the age of 18, she can now or he can now proceed to higher education. It's where the student enters university. Students has also choices. Like after junior high school, he or she can already proceed to vocational school that would last for 1 year, or she can also or he can also proceed to College of Technology that would last for 5 years. How about after high school? What's the option of the student? The option of the student is that she can or he can go to vocational school, and that is for 1 year, or she can also go to junior college that would last for 2 years. So those are the options aside from going directly to university after high school. Education system is in Japan is actually divided into three. We have here the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. Now, for the secondary, we have here the lower secondary and the upper secondary. For the tertiary, we have here the bachelor's, the master's, and then the doctorate. For the elementary, it would last for 6 years. For lower secondary, it lasts for 3 years. And for upper secondary, it lasts for another 3 years. Now let's have here the primary education. Education through middle school is compulsory in Japan, where schools remain structured after the American model. Following elementary education at kindergartens and daycare centers, children move on to primary schools where they complete 6 grades in preparation for junior high school. Now let's have here the middle education. At junior high school, the focus of the next 3 years is increasingly academic. 95% of middle schools are state funded, and 96% of their pupils opt to study further. Teachers have typically completed major courses in the subjects that they teach, and over 80% of these have completed a 4-year college degree too. Now let's proceed to secondary education. Although high school is neither compulsory nor free, 94% of junior high school graduates choose to enter institutions of which half are privately funded, and half are owned by the state. There, they enter a general stream that after grade 9 divides into vocational and university entrance categories. Now let's have the next one, vocational education. Students who choose not to enter university almost invariably undergo some form of vocational training. There, standards are high too, and success capped by internationally recognized certification. How about tertiary education? Almost free Japanese students are enrolled at the nation's colleges and universities at any one time. Most study full time, where popular undergraduate courses are social sciences. We have business, law, and accounting, and also engineering, humanities, and education. There are 96 national universities, 39 public universities, which are established for local government, and almost 400 private colleges. Now let's move on to the schools in Japan. Of course, here in the Philippines, we are already familiar with the schools, right? Because we're here in the Philippines now. Have you ever wondered the schools in Japan? What are, the styles of the schools in Japan? How they spend their day in school? So now let's move on to this discussion. We have here the standard junior high and high schools in Japan. So let's move on. School exchange programs are mostly held in secondary schools, like what I've said a while ago, including junior high schools and senior high schools, in which students ages from 12 to 18. So a while ago, I have mentioned that there is this lower secondary education and higher secondary education. For the lower secondary education, it is for junior high schools, and for the upper secondary education, it is for senior high schools. So during the exchange program, it is possible to take classes with Japanese students and join club activities organized by the students themselves. What is a social exchange program? A school exchange program is a program in which students visit schools and meet students of their age in Japan. Many schools, while on educational travel in Japan, have engaged in exchange programs with schools all around Japan because they have this program or activity where students can travel into different schools. There are a wide range of school exchange programs which can meet a variety of aims, such as cross-cultural communication, language learning, sports or art exchange, and more. How about the school life in Japan? Public schools in Japan have classes 5 days a week, from Monday to Friday. So just like here in the Philippines, we're also spending Monday to Friday for schooling. There are schools in Japan that have classes on Saturday. So here, Saturday classes very common in private schools when they have makeup classes, especially in international schools that exist here in the Philippines, just like in Cagayan de Oro. I have worked there in Nanora International School where there are classes during Saturdays, for enrichment activities. And also in colleges, even in universities, public universities, there are also classes during Saturdays for makeup classes. So in junior high and high schools, there are 6 periods each day, typically lasting 50 minutes for each. So just like here in the Philippines, we have 7 classes a day. No, so aside from the clubs that students can attend after the classes, we have a basic 7 classes a day, or 7 class periods, which also last for 50 minutes. After classes, students clean the classrooms in shifts and then start their club activities. And there are a variety of clubs such as cultural and sports ones. So just, very common because here in the Philippines, we also have that. So here is an example for the school timetable. So we have here at 8:15, it's morning assembly. So just like here. But here in the Philippines, we usually start at 7. In some schools, they usually start at 7:15 or 7:30. But in Japan, they start their morning assembly at 8:15. And then at 8:30, they start their first period and followed by the second period at 9:30 and third period at 10:30 and the fourth period at 11:30. They will be taking their lunch at 12:30. At 1:30, they will start their fifth period, and 2:30 for the sixth period, and then 3:30 they're done. So here in the Philippines, we will finish our classes at 4:30, and in some schools they finish their classes at 4. So how about their academic calendar? In principle, the school year begins in April and ends in March of the following year. Most schools adopt a free semester system, and that's the first semester from April to August, and then second semester that's from September to December, and then the third semester is from January to March. But here in the Philippines, we only have two. We have the sem break at usually at October. So there in Japan, they follow three semester system. So there is also a summer break in Japan that from the end of July to the end of August. A winter break from the end of December to the beginning of the January, and a spring break that starts from the end of March to the beginning of April. So now let's move on to the school organization. Each school has, like just like here, we have principal and then a vice principal, teachers, school nurse, and other administration staff. But here in the Philippines, we do not call it as vice principal, but assistant principal. Okay, so how about their functions? What are the functions of those people? So as the chief executive, the principal assumes all the responsibilities of the school, including courses provided and related administrative work. The vice principal supports the principal to manage administrative affairs of the school and to be in charge of students' educational activities and curriculum as well. And furthermore, in order to ensure school smooth operation, teachers take on various responsibilities such as taking care of educational activities, students' school life, and employment guidance for students after graduation. How about the special features of Japanese education? So now let's find out. First, we have regarding the level of education. The level of Japanese education is high even by world standards. In OECD's Program for International Student Assessment, we have here, or the PESA, aimed at 15-year-old, Japanese students recorded high levels of achievement, particularly in science-related areas. So that's how good they are. Educational activities outside of school also flourished, and programs leading to advanced education are implemented. Enrollment in high schools, the second half of secondary education reaches over 90%, and the enrollments in college are also high, reaching over 50%. So, yeah, admission to high schools and colleges is mainly through entrance exams held from January to the month of March. Now let's have the foreign language education. So just like the other countries, they also learn second language or the foreign language. English is compulsory subject in junior high and high schools. There are also elementary schools that introduce English education from intermediate grade classes. In some high schools, apart from English, students are also allowed to take courses in Chinese, Korean, French, German, and others. So how about student clubs? You're all familiar with this because when I was in high school, we had science club, English club, and all other clubs. So student clubs are a characteristic part in Japan's school education. Under teachers' guidance, students with the same interests in sports, cultural activities, or fields of study voluntarily gather together after classes and on days off. There are also numerous students' clubs revolving around Japanese tradition and sports culture, such as judo, kendo, which is a Japanese swordsmanship, sado, which is the Japanese tea ceremony, and shudo, which is the Japanese calligraphy. And we also have kado, which means Japanese flower arrangement. Club activities also provide students with the chance to participate in school exchange and friendly matches. Now let's move on to Japan education system problems. No matter how high their standard, no matter how good they are, when it comes to their achievements as an OECD country, they also have problems. So now let's have here the first one: students' lack of creativity. students' lack of freedom, and students' lack of future vision. So there are reasons why these things are happening. So before I end, I would like to mention the 2021 best countries for education, which are ranked based on a perception-based global survey, which used a compilation of scores from three equally weighted country attributes: having a well-developed public education system, whether people would consider attending a university there, and if that country provides a top quality education. So Japan ranked number 7 in education rankings. To sum up, the Japanese school system primarily consists of 6-year elementary schools, 3-year junior high schools, and 3-year high schools, followed by a 2 or 3-year junior colleges or a 4-year colleges. Compulsory education lasts for 9 years through elementary and junior high school.